still believe that China's just the world's factory, or that made in China means cheap but probably inferior quality products? Well, if you do, you're a bit behind the times. These iPhones, of course, are all made and produced in China. And so are dozens of other high-tech and luxury goods designed in the West. But things have moved on. Chinese factories are still making great brands. It's just that now, many are producing great brands that are Chinese.
Pioneering Chinese brands are changing what Made in China stands for. They're pulling apart the view that China's just a nation of copycats and rapidly earning a reputation for quality and innovation.
The eastern city of Qingdao is famous for its brewery, but it's also home to Haier, which is now the world's biggest maker of fridges and domestic appliances. And at their corporate HQ, there's a sledgehammer on display. Why? Because in the mid-1980s, when Chairman Zhang took over as CEO, he discovered that 20% of his fridges were faulty. So he put them in a line and smashed them up with a sledgehammer. They thought he was mad, of course, but actually he was a visionary, because it was only by insisting on top quality that the brand had any future.
The Chinese government has also now recognised that Made in China has a bit of an image problem. Part of its big push is now to change all of that. The National Made in China 2025 programme is at the heart of this. The plan is to vastly improve the quality of Chinese goods, focus on digitisation, and develop strong, valuable Chinese brands that the world wants to buy. High-tech areas like robotics, pharma, aviation and electric cars are where the government has set its sights. And Beijing's providing business incentives and money for R&D to help make this happen. But 2025 is just the first stage of this blueprint for change. By 2035, China aims to be making major industrial breakthroughs. And by 2049, 100 years after Mao founded the People's Republic, China wants to have its brands on a par with the best in the world. And that's got countries like the US worried, and is partly why President Trump has slapped tariffs on Chinese exports to the US, and the Chinese-US trade talks are so complex. But if 2049 sounds like the distant future, it's important to know that China's drive for world-beating quality is well underway. Already, it has plenty of technology and commerce that is better than you'll find in the West. Go to China today, order from the retailer Alibaba, and you can get your order delivered in under 30 minutes. And it may well arrive by drone. You can make payments with your phone, of course, but with facial recognition technology, you can also pay with just a smile. There's shops with no checkouts, driverless cars and buses, social networks that connect more of your life than Facebook or Twitter combined. Are these things really innovation? I'm not sure that really matters. This is a market that's changing, and it's changing at China speed, which is 20 times the speed of anywhere else. And the change is happening fast. WPP research tells us that consumer opinions on where products are made can change dramatically too. Just think of Japan and Korea. In the 70s, a Made in Japan label meant you'd probably bought a pile of rubbish. And now you'll pay quite a premium for Japanese goods. Sony and Toyota are among the brands that have helped change people's minds along that journey. And views about Korea have altered even faster, thanks largely to brands like Samsung and Hyundai. In China, we're not saying that the quality gap isn't real, but it is closing. And that's happening even faster than it did for Japan or even Korea. There's a growing number of brands that are raising expectations of Chinese goods around the world, especially in fast-growing markets. Names like Haier, Gree, Huawei, Lenovo and Xiaomi. But are they really changing people's minds about made in China? Well, yes, they are. WPP's BAV runs an annual Best Countries ranking, which measures how people around the world feel about countries and what they offer. Think of it as countries as brands. China has risen 16 places out of the 80 countries in the study in the past 2 years alone. It's now ranked 16th overall, just behind Spain. What's really interesting though is what China's perceived as being good at. It's viewed as being open for business, forward-thinking, the best place to start a business, and innovative. So views about China change. So do views about Chinese goods and vice versa. Our BrandZ research shows that when people think of Chinese brands, there's still some work to do on building trust. But innovation is strong. People see Chinese brands as leading the way in their category, being creative and shaking things up.
Our research shows that younger people, the under 25s, think more positively about Chinese brands than any other age group. They're increasingly seeing made in China as pretty cool, and opinions differ depending on where you live. Here in the UK, consumers are amongst the most positive in the world about how made in China affects their buying decisions. They're voting with their wallets, and as these young consumers get older, demands for brands that are made in China will only get stronger, well beyond 2025.